But baseball's back. I don't know if you heard my self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason commentary. It doesn't feel like we baseball fans won anything.
If they just would have agreed to something, I think it would have been okay, Les. If they would have just come up to some kind of agreement, rather than having the commissioner say, you're going to play 60 games and this is the way it's going to be, and we're going to start with a runner on second base, and we'll spread out, and you can have 60 guys on the in town if you need them. That's not the way it should have been. They should have figured out that they're America's pastime, that they can play the game, that they can figure this out, that we all know they have labor issues, and that they can figure out the labor issues next year. That's the way it should have worked out. It didn't, and that's why I think we're all kind of like, okay, baseball, let's see how you screw this up next.
Well, when you think about it, it was all set up to happen that way anyway. It didn't matter. The negotiations went to some level, and then they all said, okay, let's stop somewhere on the books. The commissioner's allowed to make a ruling, so let's let him earn his salary. And that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, I just wish the commissioner didn't have to, because it just seems like the players were sitting there forcing the commissioner to do it so they could have a grievance, so they could have something to sue over as they head into the next round of negotiations.
Well, it's going to happen again. They should have, if they were going to come up with something, they should have just come up with it and get it over with. But we'll go through it again next year. All right, here's what we need to know about the 2020 baseball season. Players will report to camp on July 1st. The opening day will be the 23rd or 24th. And then the season, 60-game season, is going to run through September 27th. The trade deadline will be August. Their universal DH, I don't see why that's even a factor. Of course, that should be that way. And also the runner starts at second base in extra innings. How that is going to improve and excite the game is beyond me, but I guess they're going to do it. So, I heard you guys talking. Rosters start at 30 players for the first 2 weeks. They'll move to 28 the following week, then stay at 26 for the rest of the season. Teams will have a taxi squad, and that'll allow them to have as many as 60 players available. Now, obviously, I'm saying obviously, you would think they're just going to say, okay, on today's game or today's series, you're going to have this amount of guys playing. You're not going to have 60 guys dressing and available, I wouldn't think.
No, from what I understand, the 60 guys will be here, but you're right. They'll only dress like 27. And then what they'll do is some of those guys will be out at maybe Classic Park or Crusher Stadium. I even heard St. Ignatius was in the paper today. They were saying that. So those guys will be here, but they won't be at the games because they still want to spread them apart. But you'll have access to 60 players in a moment's notice.
Yeah, so going back to what you said before, you look at this team and they negotiate and they do whatever they do. Then you come to the predisposed decision that the commissioner is going to make something up. But the Indians will play out 10 games against each of the other division members of the AL Central. And in addition to that, they're going to play 4 games each with the NL Central. And that would include the Reds, the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Pirates, and the Brewers. Do you like the way they broke that up, or would you have, I don't know what else they could have done, especially with the amount of travel.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I didn't need to see the Indians go out west and play baseball this year. If they're only going to play, if they're only going to play 60 games, there's really no reason for them to do that. What I kept saying to Jeff today, though, is at some point they're probably going to say, you know what, we've got the DH in both leagues if this plays through. Maybe we should realign, the American, the National, whatever that's worth. Maybe we should realign. Maybe it's easier for Clevelanders to get over to Pittsburgh rather than they're not going to go to Minnesota. You're not driving over to Minneapolis. So I think that they're going to look at this and they're going to see what works. And I think they're going to try to keep the best of it as they move forward. And don't be surprised if realignment is something that happens somewhere in the future. I'm not banking on it. It's just me saying, look, it makes more sense. I'd rather see the Indians have a rivalry and have a true rivalry with somebody like Pittsburgh rather than trying to have a rivalry with Minnesota or Kansas City.
Andy,
I'm tired of Kansas.
Andy, you can't have common sense in an argument like this about baseball. It just doesn't belong.
Sorry.
Crying doesn't count in baseball, neither does common sense. I mean, they've messed up the game in so many other ways. Why not bring Pittsburgh and Cincinnati into the same division?